Okay. Okay. So let me share my screen so you can see what Gita is saying.
Okay, that one.
By the way, all of you have this, right? I sent it to you, chapter 2. So if you have difficulty, you can pull it up or read it on your own also, just so you know. If you ever feel like revising, you have all the means to revise. No bahanas.
Okay, how do I get these things down? Just the screen up.
You gotta do that. Hit control of the screen.
Can
Okay.
you put all the pictures off the screen?
So last time we did up till 2.46. Do you remember what we did last time, or you've forgotten? I had forgotten, so I had to look back. So last time we talked about we were on Karam Yoga. This we know, right?
Ritu, can you take the pictures off the screen?
I can't.
Oh, okay.
Because half of the screen gets hidden by the pictures, right?
Yeah.
That's your you have to do on your side, whatever.
Okay.
Okay. So last few lectures we've been talking about Karam Yoga. That you remember, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And any of you remember what we have talked about Karam Yoga so far? Anybody wants to be brave and venture? I know बिल्लू तेरे को तो पता होगा.
Yeah. अच्छा, मैं
Billu
सबसे
is a-
ज्यादा ज्ञानी हूँ.
Billu is a very
Live your life, but live spiritually. That's Karam Yoga.
live your life but live. Okay. So what did we say last lecture? What did we talk about for Karam Yoga? Last time we talked about Eka Buddhi and Vyavasay Atmika Buddhi. You remember that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So in Karam Yoga, so Karam Yoga is in Gita. This is going to be a 5-minute revision, okay? Because you guys have not done your own revision, so we're going to do it in class.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So in Gita, they say that if you are a samsari and you want to now go towards a more spiritual path, you want to find out more about yourself, self-knowledge, you want to learn more, you want to kind of cross the ocean of samsara, as they say, then you have two paths in front of you, or two lifestyles in front of you. One is sannyas. That means you just say, okay, I don't want to deal with the world anymore. I'm done with it. I am done with my responsibility in the world. I'm going to go to an ashram. I am going to learn all the shastras. I'm going to learn about self-knowledge because that is all that is important. And my life is going to be about learning and teaching the shastras, and in the process getting self-knowledge and getting moksha. That is one path. And there are people who take this path. As you know the book you're reading, Billu, Swami Tadatmanand, he took that path. And many of the sannyasis and the gurus who teach us have taken that path. They live in an ashram. They give up whatever they had of their previous life and they say, I'm going to start afresh. So some people do it, but it's not for everybody. Because to do that, you have to be of a particular bent of mind. You have to have a very good control over your mind. You should not be troubled by too many desires and fears and so on. You should have what's called antah-karna shuddhi, a pure mind. Because if it is not there, then this is a disastrous way. Because you'll go to the ashram, but your mind will be always in the world. You will be sitting wearing, your orange robes, but you will be thinking about three-piece suit, whatever. Okay? So your mind will not be there. So Bhagwan Krishna says there's a better way. And the better way is not to go to an ashram and live there, but to stay where you are. Do whatever you've been doing. Stay with the people you love. Do everything the way you are, but change your attitude. gradually change your attitude. So because what Krishna Bhagavan is saying is all this is all in the mind. It's not in the external environment. It doesn't matter whether you're in an ashram or wherever you are or in the Himalayas or whether you're with a particular person or not. What matters is what is inside you, what's in your mind. How are you reacting to the world? How are you receiving the world? What are you can, living in this world, you can understand yourself. You start first by understanding your reactions. You start first by understanding the mind. Once you understood the mind, then you go towards understanding who you really are, which is yourself, your Atma. Understanding the mind and knowing what the mind is and getting a better kabu on the mind is the is what is called Karam Yoga. So the people who have taken this path, I assume that all of us who are here have taken this path in one way or another. Some with more dedication, others with little less dedication, but we are getting there. Because you're all here. You're spending this time listening to Gita. This is not, on a precious Sunday. You could be doing a lot of things, but you came here. So you are interested. You have some degree of commitment. So you're Karam Yogis. So your first job is to understand your own mind. Understand the reactions of your own mind. How is it? How am I seeing the world? How am I responding to the world? How am I seeing my relationships? How am I responding to my relationships? How am I seeing my work? How am I responding to my work? You have this with an objective mind, you try to see this because we've never even seen this. You know what Tony Bhaiya said last time, the five whys? We've never applied the five whys to ourselves. We've only been focused on the outside world. We try to understand the other person. Oh, ye aisa hai, wo aisa hai, and then we pass judgment on the other person. But we don't really try to understand ourselves in an unbiased way. Sometimes we look at ourselves as a victim. Sometimes we look at ourselves very harshly. Like everything is up there. You just beat yourself up all the time. That's also something we do. Sometimes we just make allowances for ourselves. We are in denial. That also we do. And we get along in this world with all of that. But now that you are on a spiritual path, you can no longer afford to have a mind which you don't understand. Because as you get deeper into this path, this mind is going to start playing a role. Your subconscious and your unconscious is going to start playing a role. The biases and the issues that are there deep hidden inside our mind, they will start influencing without us knowing. They start influencing. So being able to consciously and deliberately spend time to understand my own mind and trying to control it is what is Karam Yoga. And the technique which has been given by Bhagwan Krishna is what we started looking at last time. So far, we looked at a few initial mantras where Bhagwan Ji said that a Karam Yogi needs to have an Eka Buddhi and a Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. So he said, first of all, Eka Buddhi means one objective, a very clear one single objective. And Vyavasayatmika Buddhi means a well ascertained objective. It's not an objective that you just pluck out of somewhere and then put in there, okay, मैंने ये बनना है. कल को आपने डिसाइड कर दिया जी मैंने रॉक स्टार बनना है, तो वो ऑब्जेक्टिव बना दिया, मैं तो रॉक स्टार ही बनूंगा और बनूंगी. But have you thought through it? Is that what is going to give you happiness? Do you have the capability for it? Do you have the skills for it? Are you going to become a rock star and be able to earn a living? All of those things have to be thought through, and that's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. So let's say you decide I want to be a Karam Yogi. Have you really thought through what it means to be a Karam Yogi? What does it mean in terms of the commitment that you want to make to this? What does it mean to your other relationships, to your time? Having a well ascertained understanding of all this is what's called Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. Vyavasaya means business, profession. Vyavasaya Atmika means someone who's very professional and business-like. So you're like you're not just willy-nilly doing things. You've actually thought through. That's Vyavasayatmika. So a Karam Yogi, first and foremost, has a very clear objective. The clear objective is self-knowledge. And to get that self-knowledge, I want to have a calm mind, a pure mind, a mind which is objective. That's my single-minded objective. That's the first thing a Karam Yogi does. Then, based on this, the Karam Yogi also has Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. The Karam Yogi knows what he's getting into, understands how he's going to manage everything around him or her for this goal, and is not just plunging into it just like that, right, without thinking, because then you're just going to get hurt and you're going to come back. That never works. So the first thing, the very first thing that Krishna Bhagavan said is Eka Buddhi and Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. So well ascertained understanding and a single objective. That's number one. And this is not surprising. Whatever you want to do, whether you want to start your own business, anything you want to do, you have to have Eka Buddhi and Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That's the path for success. But when your Vyavasayatmika Buddhi and Eka Buddhi, that Eka Buddhi is not for starting a new company or getting a new job or doing something, a new project, it's for self-knowledge. That becomes your Eka Buddhi. Then you're called a Karam Yogi. That's the difference. Okay? So a Karam Yogi is a very efficient, planful, good worker, but working towards a slightly different objective, which is self-knowledge. That's the difference, okay? So that's what we talked about last time. And now, and then he also said, by the way, he said Krishna Bhagavan warned us against things which take away from this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. What takes us away from this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi of self-knowledge is what he called Bahushakha Buddhi. Bahushakha Buddhi means many branches. You're thinking of this, you're thinking of that. आज को तुमने ये सोचा, कल आज मुझे घर चाहिए, कल मेरे को कार चाहिए, कल मुझे नया घर चाहिए, फिर ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए. You're just thinking. You just keep getting new things, new thoughts, new directions. That's Vyavasaya. That's the lack of Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That's the Bahushakha Buddhi. That means you're basically squandering your resources rather than utilizing them towards your objective. And how do you get Bahushakha Buddhi? He gave one example of how you can get Bahushakha Buddhi. That's if you are a Vitvad, you're a Vedvad Rataha, for example. That means if you are, and this is an example which is meant for those times. In those times, lives were governed by Vedas. So Ved mein, there are a lot of mantras and lot of shlokas and all mantras होते हैं जिससे you can get things. अगर आपको बेटा चाहिए तो it's something called putra kam eshta, something like that mantra. It's a big yagna, very expensive yagna. So only rich people can afford it. But you do that yagna and you can get sons and daughters. You can get children. And if you want wealth, then you do a different yagna. If you want to win over the neighbor's kingdom, then you do another yagna. So there are these yagnas which are there for different things. Whatever you want, there's a yagna for it. You just have to do it properly. You have to get acharyas there involved. You have to get sacrifice things. You have to denote money, put money into it. There are all kinds of, you have to give dhan, you have to do meditations. So all these are given in order to get to a particular desired result. So what Krishna Bhagavan is saying is, one who gets caught up in these Vedas, in getting this, getting that, doing this ritual to do this, ritual to do that, is not going to be Eka Buddhi. He's going to be Bahushakha Buddhi. Because all these are shakhas. आज मुझे बेटा चाहिए, कल मुझे ये चाहिए, परसों मुझे वो चाहिए, right? In our lifetime now, when you have to translate this to us, we don't have Vedas anymore. But we may not have Vedas and Yagnas, but we are still having efforts. We make projects, we do things to get different things. So when our mind is disparate, spread across all these different things, then our Eka Buddhi suffers. That's the point. So he was giving one such example. Now we go on to 47.
Nitya,
Okay.
can we just clarify that
Yeah.
when we say that in order to get knowledge, you have to have a pure mind, that it's a relatively pure mind we're talking about and a relatively objective mind, right? Because finally that's what self-knowledge is going to give you also, right? A pure
Yeah,
mind,
yeah, yeah.
objective mind.
But so you can say relatively, but that should not be. That doesn't mean that because relatively is a very loose term, correct? So relative to what? So if all our minds are pure relative to somebody or the other, you can always find a more impure mind, right? So the idea is you have to see for yourself. You make your best efforts to get to purity. If you feel convinced that there's nothing more that you can do right now, sure, stop. But don't say relative and say, okay, I'm waiting for self knowledge. Because you're not waiting for self knowledge. That's the other thing. You already have self knowledge.
Mm.
The problem is that self knowledge that you have, that I am Brahman, you don't believe. By you, I mean everybody. So if you say that I'm going to wait for self knowledge to become pure, and and self knowledge says, I'm waiting for purity because before I get self knowledge, then you're caught in
Yeah.
you're neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So don't think like this, that it should be a relatively pure mind, relatively impure mind. You do your best. That's what you have to do. Okay? Because I mean, most of us now, at least we know what Gita is saying about self-knowledge. Some of us have spent a long time at it, some have spent less. And and the way Gita works is it's giving both together. It's not saying I'm going to wait for self-knowledge till you get a pure mind. It's giving you both. It started with self-knowledge.
Right.
Gita started with describing who you are. So both of them are going together. So don't think like this. Just your job right now, if you have to listen to Bhagwan Krishna, is get to understand your own mind, get to understand your own biases, get to understand, be objective, and do that by the method that was given to you, right? Which is reflect on yourself, reflect on your day, see what things have got you upset and angry, or uncomfortable, or not happy for any reason, and try to figure out why. Because our first impulse is going to be, I'm not happy because of this,
Yeah.
because of this external situation. But that is not a good answer.
Yeah.
You got to think and say, what is my reaction to this external situation that is making me unhappy? And why is that reaction there? Otherwise, we will always find a reason and we will just let it go. So that's what we don't want to do. Okay. I mean, there are other things also. As we go along, he will give you more techniques. But this is where we are right now. Okay, so let's go on now to 2.47. I'm very nervous now because Billu na gives me good feedback at the end, and if we don't make progress on the Gita, then she gives me she tells me to you didn't move forward. Oh, where is Billu?
I'm right here.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so 2.47. So 2.47 says this is a very famous, well-known mantra. It says Karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Here, this one. Ma karma phal hetur bhurma te sangos stava karmani. So what it means in English is here, your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof. Do not think three sentences. First is this: your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof. Second sentence: do not think you are the author of the results of action. Third sentence: let your attachment not be to inaction. And each of these sentences is very important. So the first sentence is your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof. When Swami Dayanand introduced this in his book, I remember because I went through it yesterday. He said, many people think this is the attitude we need to have. कि हमारा attitude होना चाहिए कि our choice is only in the action, not in the results. This should be our attitude. He says, no, this is not an attitude. This is a statement of fact. We have to understand it as a statement of fact. Not as ke, if I have this attitude, I'll be happy. If I don't have this attitude, I'm not a Karam Yogi. No. This is a statement of fact. And you look around you in your life and you'll see how results are not in your hand. It doesn't mean that you should not try your best. Not at all. Doesn't mean you should not do action. But understand that results are not always in your hand. And what happens is we have a bias in our own mind. There are two kinds of biases. One bias is of a lazy person, who says, you know what, results are not in my hand, मुझे नहीं पता क्या होगा, I don't care. मैं तो I'm going to stop. I'm not, सब मैंने भगवान पे छोड़ दिया है, खत्म हो गई बात, मैंने कुछ नहीं करना, भगवान पे छोड़ दिया है सब कुछ. That's one type of bias. And the person who has a bias doesn't know he has a bias. He or she thinks ये बिल्कुल ठीक है. Then the second type of bias is, I'm a self-made man. I have done everything my way. I have been successful. I am in charge. I am the kind of person who likes to keep the ball during the clutch plays, that kind of a thing. I'll get it happen. I'll make it done. And you'll see a lot of people around you who are very sensible, or not very successful, who have this kind of a bias. Both are biases. And you have to see what is the bias in yourself. Like, for example, I had the second bias. I still kind of, in a way, have the second bias because I've been brought up in Indian and Western corporate culture. We've been taught, you are responsible. Don't blame anybody else. You yourself have to be action oriented. If things didn't work out, your fault. If things worked out, good for you, right? And then we get paid, and our increments come, and our bonuses and results and promotions come not on our efforts but on our results, right? And it's taken as okay, बिल्कुल ठीक है. उसके maybe some people get lucky and they get good results, and others are unlucky. They don't get good results in spite of working hard, but they will not get rewarded, and they're okay with that because that is the way our culture is. So these are two different things. What we have to first of all understand is understand our own bias and really look back in our life and see to what extent did we have control over our results? What is really the case? And where did things happen by happenstance? Because you'll see examples of both. That you'll say you try to do it, and therefore, someone who tries gets, right? Someone who doesn't try doesn't get anything at all. So look back. This is not an absolute statement that nothing you do will never will make a difference. It's not that. And it's not even saying that everything you'll do will make a difference. It is trying to tell you that the results are not in your hand. Doesn't mean that you have no influence on the results, but they're not at the end of the day in your hand. Because you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the understanding of the big system, the entire system. There are a lot of things going on. You may do something like Kamala Harris didn't win the election. She may have tried her level best, right? And she didn't win it because she probably didn't know all the dynamics that were going on. There's a good reason, by hindsight, there's a good reason why she didn't win. But no human being can actually understand the entire dynamics of the entire system. So you realize that the result is not in your hand. And this is even deeper than that, because what we find is, if let's say I'm working hard in order to get admission into a college or to get a job, or working hard to bring up my children, let's say, and I want to bring up my children, I want my children to get very good grades, so I'm trying my best to get them good grades. We think that we are working hard for that, but in reality, what we are working hard for is happiness, is our own happiness, our satisfaction, our child's satisfaction and happiness. You may get the first level result. You may get the child to go to a good college, but you may have no influence on the child's happiness at all. The actual result that you're after, you have no influence at all. I think this particular thing is something that we all have to sort of think through on our own. I'm happy to discuss anybody who wants to, or refer you to Gita and all that. But if we don't understand this as a statement of fact, we cannot make progress in Karam Yoga. We can't.
So, let's talk about it some more then.
Yeah.
So, Billu, Mita, Madhu, Rupa all worked very hard in their high school or pre-med. There were other students along with them that worked hard according to them, but they didn't get in to medical school.
Right.
But these ladies got into medical school.
Right.
So is that result preordained, or is it because of their hard work that they got in?
No, it's not a question of preordained. And it is, it's good that they got in, but there may have been other cases where they worked very hard and did not succeed. Right?
Yeah.
We've all had unfortunate things in our life. We've all had failures in our life. Not only because we didn't work hard.
My brain is wired to say that if I didn't get something, I didn't do something right. Either I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't influence the situation appropriately, or there was something missing in the way I did. And as a result of not seeing the right result, I go back and modify my behavior and actions.
Yes, and that is...
Let me just... doesn't that mean that, like you have said in the past lectures, that you do the karam, the results you may see in this life or later or whenever, it may not be immediate.
Right.
For what Tony is saying, that we got admission in med school could be the result of our past deeds, and maybe other people who worked as hard, their results may come at a later time.
But it's too much of a coincidence in my mind for 4 of them, the sadhana kids, to all become physicians.
Well, okay.
Right? I mean, and I'm really relating it to work and result. Your action and result. And working hard is also a relative thing. I may think I'm working really hard, but I'm really not working that hard. Another person thinks that they are working really hard, and they are really working hard to get into something. So if this statement is related to more about happiness, I can sort of get there. But I have a real difficult time in saying that your actions the results are totally devoid of your actions.
No.
Tony,
No,
I have a comment here.
Sorry.
Maybe those people who didn't get in, they didn't have all the resources that we had. Maybe they didn't get the tuitions that we had. Maybe they were sick at the time of the exam. Maybe there were some other reason that, according to them, they worked hard. Maybe their work was not prioritized in the right way towards the right subject matter, So maybe there's so many things that may have happened. Maybe our focus was on the subject matter that was there. Maybe we got the resources. Maybe we got the tuitions. Maybe we were not sick, and therefore we were able to attend the exams properly.
Yeah, and so your actions led to a result.
Well, but the things like resources, tuitions, which the other poor people couldn't afford, maybe they're sick, that wouldn't be their stuff, right? That's something that is a variable.
But the very premise of Nitu's lecture is don't worry about the results.
No, but
right? Do the action, right? But
I think the point is what Tony Bhaiya, what you're saying is that actions don't matter at all. That's not true also. That's not what Gita is saying. Bhagwan Krishna is not saying that don't do the right action. See, even if like he's telling Arjun to fight, right? It's an action war. He's not telling him koi fark nahi padta, whether you fight or not, whether we win the war or not doesn't matter. He's not saying that.
Yeah, but Nitu, so where I get stuck is, so he's in the war, he's fighting. If he does something and he seems to feel that he's not winning, he's going to change his action.
Of course.
So the objective in his mind is to win. So he is looking at the result. He's changing his action to change the result.
Of course. No. That's what I'm trying to say. I think this is a misunderstanding of the Gita to say that I don't care about the results. That is not correct. He's saying the results are not in your hands.
But
so, okay. I'm telling you what he's saying, right? So, what he's saying is that what does action mean? Action doesn't mean that you don't look at results as a responsible leader when you are acting in your company, let's say. What is your action? Your action is multiple things. One is set up the operation. Another is get feedback on how the operation is doing. Third is figure out the root cause. Fourth is take corrective action. Fifth is think about the future. What could happen? What could not happen? What scenarios can unfold? You have to do all those things. Otherwise, you're not doing your action. It is your action, your job, to make sure that whatever is happening, to take feedback from it and correct it. That is part of your action. Maybe it's not the part of the action of a very low level employee who's only doing one particular thing, and maybe even for him it is important. But your action is not just action. Doesn't mean कि बस काम करा और भूल गए. Action means action is not about working with your hands. Action is dimag, right? So all that is action. You're by understanding this, you're not going to now start suddenly saying, I don't care. I don't care about the results. Part of the action is to say, which should I invest in this project? You'll have to see what's the potential ROI. That means you have to look at the result. What's the anticipated result? Based on that, you will
What does it
invest.
mean when it says only your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof? What does that really mean?
What it actually means is that you can do your very best. You can do everything that you think you can do. You can try, you can do all the planning, you can get everything arranged, do the best you can, but you can still not say that the result is going to come. Even then, in spite of your best efforts, you can get a result which is adverse or different from what you had in mind, that you planned in mind. And what it actually means is actually exactly what you said, which means that if you don't think like this and you do your very best and the results don't come the way you expected, you will end up pointing the finger at yourself. He doesn't want you to do that. He doesn't want you to think and to say that it's my fault somehow. Like if my son didn't, luckily we've got successful children. Let's say if Vidur suddenly, becomes like, मैं तो कुछ नहीं कर रहा, मैं, like I'm done, whatever, doing nothing. I'll start pointing the finger at myself. That is not correct. See, this is very important actually for us, for people who are working in this life, in corporate life, because this thinking that I'm responsible for my results is ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Now he's telling you to think about it a little differently. You start looking at it differently, and you will see that what you thought were your actions, actually, number of times it was happenstance. You thought you got it all covered, but you actually didn't. Nobody can get it all covered.
Yeah, no, luck plays a lot. I mean, luck or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. He calls it the hand of God.
Yeah, right.
What he means is the system. If you want to look at it rationally, it means the system. We try our best, any game, like we are playing a game, right? Or football, you can design your plays. You try to figure out what is happening, but you can't have control over the whole thing. You don't know what is happening in the system.
Yeah.
So when you don't know what is happening in the system and the system influences your results, then you don't know. So he's saying, understand this. He's not saying change your attitude, any of those things. No. He's saying understand this fact that there is a system, a larger system which is at play, and you should do your best, always do your best, but you will never be in full control.
What else comes to my mind is to sort of understand this is there's a kid who goes and fails 17 times, and then on the 18th time he passes.
Right.
And there's a kid who gives up after the 4th time. They're both taking their actions. They're both doing their best. One guy or gal kept at it, and 18th time he passed. I guess I have to study this more really to get to.
So you think about it, and actually, what the other thing which Gita says, which is even more counterintuitive from a person with our background, is that if you stop letting the results bother you, if you stop thinking that if I failed, it's my fault, you will do better. You'll perform better, even better than what you have done so far. You will make, so a person if you think about it, a person who really does great things, who changes the world in a way, who sets up, who is very successful, has this attitude that I will do my best. सरदार होते हैं ना हमारे वो ऐसे सोचते हैं I'll do my best, बाकी रब रखा. Right?
Yeah.
And beyond a point, you have to say Rab Rakha. Because actually that is a fact.
Yeah,
It is
that
true.
part, I get that part. That part is easy for me to understand.
But remember, that person who has that attitude will actually take more risks and
Yeah.
will do more than a person who's always anxious about results.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have achieved a lot with our mindset, but actually we have constrained ourselves. But in the beginning, our mindset has helped us.
Yeah.
Beyond a point, our mindset has constrained us.
Yeah. That
Right?
part also I agree. Yeah. Okay.
In fact, actually, Swami Dayanand, who's himself, in my view, a very great karma yogi, he set up multiple institutions around the world. And Carol, who's our teacher, who used to spend all the time with him, she used to tell us he was totally at peace. कोई stress नहीं, कोई चिंता नहीं. He said, मैं कर रहा हूँ, this is what I have to do. My mission in life is to take Vedanta to people who are interested in it. Not to just anybody, but those who are interested. There are many in America who are interested. Let me try to set up. So he worked with people who set up all these institutions. The fact that I studied Vedanta is because of his effort. He set up an institution in Berkeley through a person who's an American who happened to teach me. Right? That's how I know. And he wasn't stressed about it. कि मेरा job है to set up institutions. That is not how he. I mean, उनका job है to set up institutions, but he understood that it has to be done. And if he was stressed, he probably wouldn't have been able to do it because he was doing so many different things, and he did this also alongside. So yeah, you must think about this, and must talk more about this, and really understand what this means in order to get the full proper understanding of Karam Yoga.
Got it.
Yeah, a statement of fact, right? Okay. Then he says, do not think you're the author of the results of action. So this is the second part of it. So he says, your choice is in action only, not in results. Then he says, don't think you're the author of the results. So who is the author of the results? Is there an author of the results? And this is the second part of Karam Yoga. Huh? Somebody said something.
I said God is the author of
Yes,
the results.
exactly. Ishwar. Ishwar is the author of the results. And now, this Ishwar also, depending on who you are, you can take it in multiple ways. You can say there is a being called Ishwar who has created these laws. So the way Swami Dayanand describes it is, he says that what is the author of the results? The laws are the author of the results. In other words, there are, if you do one thing and then this thing happens, why does that happen? Because there is a particular law which says, if you like there's a law, psychological law. It says if you motivate a person, the person will do that. Why does that happen? Why is it that you motivate a person, the person is going to act? You didn't set up this arrangement that if somebody gets motivated, the person acts. You didn't set it up. I didn't set it up. It was set up. There's a psychological law which has been set up where motivation drives action. We just take it for granted, but it's been set up. So this is just a simple example. There are laws which govern the whole system. Some laws we understand, some we don't. Now let's say motivation drives action. अपनी तरफ से मैं अपने employee को motivate करूंगा कि ये काम कर. But that person has also got other stakeholders in his life. He's got his parents and so many other things. They will be motivating him in different ways. Now, I can't have control over everything. I can only do my bit. Right? Similarly, there will be other influencers who are motivating his parents, who are then basically accordingly motivating him. So this system is vast. It's run by laws, yes. But we don't know all the laws. We don't have visibility to all the laws. So therefore, we can only do our best, which we should do. Now, this law, what is the author of results? This combined law is the author of the results. This combined system run by different laws I'm only talking about psychological laws. There are also biological laws. There are physical laws. There are all kinds of things happening in this world. Put together is the author of results. Now you can say that is Ishwar. So you can say, okay, that is the author of results. But it may be simpler. It may be simpler if you say in your mind, एक भगवान जी हैं, कृष्ण भगवान, राम भगवान, विजय भगवान, you want to take. वो भगवान जी ने ये दुनिया बनाई है और वो भगवान जी ने ये लॉज बनाए हैं. वो भगवान जी is the author of results. I am dedicating my results to that Bhagwan ji. Maybe simpler if you want to, depending on what your mindset is. You can do that. So that entity or that system is the author of the results. This is also a matter of fact, not a matter of attitude. Doesn't mean you have to believe in Ishwar. If you believe in Ishwar, you can say Ishwar, whoever you believe is the author of the results. That's perfectly correct. If you don't believe in Ishwar and you want to say, no, I'm rational. I believe in the system. I believe that there's a system. You can't deny that. Then that system is the author of results.
We say that is our destiny, that is what is we were destined to happen. So can we say that also? That was
You
our
can say if
destiny.
you want to, you can say if you want to, but that is not the intent of the Gita. You don't want to think about destiny here. You want to say, because it's not saying that your actions have no influence. That's not true either. Because he's continuing to say you have to perform your actions to the best of your ability. In fact, the third line, let's go to the third line, which is very important too. It says, let your attachment not be to inaction. Vital. If we don't understand this, we don't understand Karam Yoga. Karam Yoga says you have to act. After all, it's Karam Yoga. Have you heard of Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga में क्या करते हैं? Bhakti. We do puja. ध्यान योग में क्या करते हैं? ध्यान, meditate. कर्म योग में क्या करते हैं? कर्म. You have to do your karam. Actually, इसके बाद जो आगे आएगा, it will tell you what your karams, how to choose your karams. What are your karams? Because if you don't do karam, you're not doing karam yoga. If you're lazy, you're not doing karam yoga. If you're not loving your job, if you're not trying to get better and better and better at your job all the time, whatever you're doing, if you're not doing it with passion, with love, you're not a karam yogi. So Karam Yogi is the most efficient, or best of their ability, will always try to be more and more and more efficient because they worship their job. For them, their job, their Karam it's called Ishwar Arpan Buddhi. I have given my Karam to Ishwar. My job, my existence, my life is my Karam. So what is important to me? My Karam. That's the ईश्वर अर्पण बुद्धि of a कर्म योगी. Because मैं ईश्वर को दे रहा हूं, मैं ईश्वर को गंदी चीज तो नहीं दूंगा, मैं अपने कर्म ईश्वर को सौंप रहा हूं. I will give my best to ईश्वर. So love your job, whatever it is, whether it's a mother, you're a job, whether you're an employee, whether you're an owner, whether you're a sister, whatever you are, or a wife, whatever you're doing, do to the best of your ability and enjoy it. Because what Karma Yoga says is the enjoyment is in the work, not in the results. That's what Karma Yoga is actually saying. Your enjoyment will come in the doing of the work. Even if it's a duty that you have to do, you do it with enjoyment. Because that's where the fun will come. That's where your satisfaction will come. Because that's all you can do.
I think that statement helps me. If you're talking about, again, connecting it to the happiness part of it, that, take happiness in what you're doing.
Exactly.
Don't let the results reduce your happiness, lack of or whatever, or higher level. That part I get.
Not only that, Tony Bhaiya, don't count on the results to give you happiness.
Right. If it is
Because
happiness
they don't.
related, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so the whole thing is together. Like I was saying, these three statements have to be taken as a whole to understand Karma Yoga. Because if you only take the first one, then you are likely to get, you can likely to misunderstand it. But the whole idea, and it's not even saying that don't think about results, don't pay attention to results. No. It's only saying you are not the author of the results. Maybe he should have said you're not the sole author of the results. Maybe that would have been better.
That would be very easy for me then.
but But that is what is
the
meant.
results.
Yeah, then that's a problem. Yeah.
That is what is
create a
meant.
happiness association. That helps me with this. Yeah.
Right. So in any case, so these three things together is his now. पहले उसने कहा था एका बुद्धि and व्यवसाय आत्मी का बुद्धि. Setting yourself for karma yoga. This is karma yoga. This is how you think about it. So karma yogi mean, like, for example, I like in my previous class I was giving this example, my own example. Sorry to kind of preen, but the example I was giving is, why am I doing this Gita lectures that I'm giving you? I'm not doing it because I want praise from you or happy, something from you. I'm not charging you for it. I'm not charging my other friends. I'm doing it because I love this subject, right? And and as I give you teaching, as I teach you, I become better at it. I'm forced to to um, to think about it in multiple ways and say, how can I make it simpler, 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 simpler? How can I make it even more simple? How can I clarify it even more, right? If it wasn't for these classes, I would not have gone into the depth of the subject matter the way that I have. I'm forced to now read this book. There are 9 versions of it every time before the session, because it shows how Swamiji took his classes. And I have to say, okay, and I don't want to miss out. I want to give you the important things. So I'll make sure that I learn it. I read it so that I'm giving you the right information. It's giving me a lot of joy. That's why I'm doing it. I look forward to it even more than you look forward to it. So in a way, in a very small way, this is Karma Yoga. In a very small way, right? But you can do this for every little piece of your life. Everything that you do, this can apply. Like, I think of Kavita when she cooks. It doesn't matter who she cooks for, whether it's for mummy or for me or for the children or for anybody who comes. When she cooks, she
She
just
just has
does
a
her best.
pleasure.
Yeah, she can't help it. This is what she does, right? That is another example, a small example of Karma Yoga, but this can be applied to
Does it with
even the big
happiness.
things in your life.
To all these three statements are also ultimately being objective about the reality, about the way things are, right? So Karam Yoga really means be objective on every level in
Yeah,
the recognition of what impact your actions may or may not have, in the recognition that the results that you get may or may not finally make you happy, and in the recognition that, all of this really is being objective, right?
yeah. That's why it's
This
not
is,
it's not really just an attitude, it's knowledge. Okay.
yeah,
So these are all matters of fact. It's
yeah,
not like there are two ways about it. Some person thinks like this, some other person thinks like this. This is just a fact.
yeah.
So that's what he's trying to say. He calls it buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga matlab yoga of knowledge. And the other knowledge which is not there, he's not said it here, is that actually results never make. In the end, it's not the results that are making you happy. We think that the results are making us happy, but they're not, because if results are only about desires, obsessions, then they only produce a new desire.
Nitu,
And
I
that
have
also has to be understood, because we don't really know what happiness is. We don't know what contentment is, because we are so caught up in results and more results. हमको पता ही नहीं है what we are missing.
So tell me one more thing. Is Bhakti Yoga and Dhyan Yoga and Karam Yoga, are they connected? Can we do all of them, or is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
follow one path?
They are three sides of the same coin. A coin can have three sides. Okay,
And it's
all
impossible to
connected.
do all three. So you can
It's
just do one.
Gita says do all three. In fact, Gita
Bhakti
Gita
Yoga,
defines Gita
yeah.
defines Karam Yoga as a overarching umbrella, an overarching lifestyle, which includes this Karam Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And what you will do, what you will focus more on depends on you, right? Somebody like Tony Bhaiya at this moment in time may focus much more on Karam Yoga because he is all about Karam. And me too. Somebody like Mummy may focus a lot more on Bhakti. Perhaps I'm assuming here. I'm not saying that that is true, but some other people may they may get more attached. For them, bhakti is emotions is the big thing for them, right? So there are different people will pay different emphasis, but you cannot be a karam yogi without being a bhakt. You will also be bhakt. What are you a bhakt of? That is the important thing. Are you a bhakt of? You have to be a bhakt of Ishwar. What do you define Ishwar as? As a person or as this system?
But Ishwar,
Because
in your
because you are.
past, you said Ishwar is you.
That is also true.
It's confusing. When you say
No, no,
Ishwar, when you say Ishwar is energy and it's within you, then it kind of becomes
it's
a
not
little
energy. Energy is also matter. Energy and matter are not two different things. Okay, so it's not energy. It's consciousness. It's spirit.
yeah.
It's undefinable. But what it's saying is not that Ishwar is you. It says your truth is Ishwar. In other words, if you're thinking about you as Mita, then you're not Ishwar. Then you are an individual,
Mhm.
right? Because you're not even Tony, much less Ishwar, right? You're not even Samir. So you are different as an individual. So that is not Ishwar. But what is really you that you don't understand yet, that you don't see yet, is your tattva. That that really you, which is not you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the mother, you're not the wife. What really you are, that is what Ishwar really is also. So the tattva of Ishwar and the tattva of you is the same. That's what it's saying. It's saying that of everything that we see, everything that exists, there is a singular underlying reality. It all comes from one thing, right? And that is not hard to imagine. Things, everything comes from somewhere. Whatever you think you come from, that also comes from somewhere. Then that comes from somewhere. That comes from somewhere. At the end of the day, when you keep peeling the onion, you will reach one thing. Everything reaches that one thing. Even if it is Ishwar, that also reaches that one thing. And that one thing is what you really are. That's what it's saying. So if you think of yourself as Mita, then
No, no,
yes, your
I
thinking is
don't think
different.
of myself as Mita. If I, if you say that one thing is within me, not the physical body, not my mind, not my whatever, so that means the results of all your actions depends upon that one thing, which is the core of my being or my whatever. So, so
No, so the results ऐसा नहीं है.
then,
That one thing which is Atma or Brahman, let's give it a name,
yeah,
which is the basis of everything, including of Ishwar, is unchanging. याद है?
yeah.
Nitya, unchanging, eternal. Nothing can happen to it. So nothing will happen to you. आप काम करो नहीं करो, राइट? आप आपके पास अच्छा रिजल्ट आए, बुरा रिजल्ट आए, कुछ भी हो, ultimately you're fine. Nothing will happen to you because you are that. So that is true, absolutely true. But our job right now is to get conviction that that is true, that that one thing is what I am. अब मैंने आपको बता दिया कि मीता, you are that one thing. You don't have to worry about anything. Will you stop worrying?
No.
No, right? Why? Because you're not convinced about it. I'm telling you, nothing will happen to you. You are that one thing. You are you are Atma. You're not this physical body. You're not this mental body, mind. You're the Atma. So stop worrying about anything right now. Just relax and live your life. You're not going to do that because you're going to say, okay, Nittu ne to ye keh diya. Maybe Bhagwan Krishna ne bhi ye keh diya, but I don't know whether that's true. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe jo Gita mere kya hai galat hai, right? You don't have conviction about it. So what Gita and Vedanta is telling you is, then they have told you that is the goal. That is what you are. Now the rest of the job is to take you from where you are right now, which is thinking that I'm Mita, a separate body, to this point, to understanding this and getting conviction in this. Karam Yoga is part of that. That process of getting there is a process of increasing happiness. That is the beauty of it. You are right now, you're a Mita, or I'm a Nittu, let's say. And I have I think I'm this body. I have all kinds of issues with my body. I have issues with my mind. I have issues with everything around me. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, right? This is everybody's life. Now, somebody has told me, Gita, Bhagwan Krishna has told me, कि नहीं, Nittu, you're not just this sometimes happy, sometimes sad. Nittu, you are Atma. And that Atma is all knowing, eternal, nothing happens to it. It is content in itself, doesn't need anything else. A Sangha, all these things it's told about Atma. So I say, okay, I mean, somebody tells me I am eternal and wonderful. Okay, good. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to know more. Right? Then Krishna Bhagavan says, for you, this Nittu, who you think you are, this Nittu, for you to understand that, to get to that point where you are convinced about that, you have to follow a path. And it's not that you have to follow a path. The path is first understand the fact, first understand your own mind, which is driving you right now. See how it is shaping your uh, real reality, making you less objective. Then, slowly, gradually, understand this Atma, and I'll guide you along the way. It'll tell you how. And along that way, you'll be happier and happier. You'll get happier and happier and happier. And when you reach that understanding, you'll be, that's called moksha. That is how he's laid it out for you. So you're now saying, okay, you're forgetting at this moment, you're not trying to say, I'm trying to remember, I'm Atma. वो तो चलो है. At this moment, I'm taking the first step on this path. And the first step on this path is Karma Yoga, where I'm still convinced that I'm Mita or I'm Nittu, but I'm trying to now better understand my own mind, my own actions, trying to see how my attitude, my actions, my mind is shaping me and coming in the way of my knowledge and my happiness. That's what you're doing right now. And the beauty of it is, this is a wonderful exercise. Even if you don't have any big desire to have moksha, even if you don't want to know yourself as Atma, even then this is a nice exercise to do. Because it will help you in your life just where you are. So there's a perfect synchrony. But that's the path. Right? Because if you don't, अगर हमारा मन ऐसे का ऐसे ही रहेगा, and then we want to learn more about Atma and all that, वो बनता नहीं है काम. Because every teaching that will be given to you will be distorted by the lens of your mind. Your ego will come in the way. You will not understand what it's saying. You will understand what you want to hear rather than what is being said. Right? That is why the Karma Yoga has to be done. And it also happens to be a wonderful thing, because you will see the difference in your own happiness. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Because you're working on yourself. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just keep going on this, because I was thinking, anyway, let me take another few minutes. So these three statements form the basis of Karma Yoga. Then he says, remaining steadfast in yoga, Dhananjaya, perform actions, abandoning attachment and remaining the same to success and failure. This evenness is called yoga. So he uses a word here, very important here in this one. It's called samatvam. Yogastaha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhayoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So samatvam means evenness of mind. That means not being affected by success or failure. Of course, this is an ideal now, right? It's all relative. But it's saying, if you are doing your work, if you love your work, let's say I always think about this example of a teacher. I'm teaching. I love teaching Vedanta. This is my Karma Yoga. I'm doing it. Now, are you going to get it or you're not going to get it? I don't know. Right? I don't know whether suddenly I'll be very happy if all of you understand exactly what I'm saying and get so much benefit from it, start feeling happy, start getting on your own path, take off and do your thing. Right? That'd be wonderful. I don't know whether that'll happen or not, right? Because I'm not in control of your mind. There are so many things which are happening around you, which can influence it. How busy you are, what's happening with your relationships, what kind of things are going on. So for me, if I'm okay with it, if I'm okay with saying, I'm getting my pleasure out of teaching, the result I don't have a handle on, that's called samatvam. In other words, if you become great students and then you become teachers by yourself, that'd be wonderful. That's what I call success, siddhi. If you disregard this and forget it, forget chodo pare, I'm busy with other things. Ho gaya, right? That's a siddhi for me. That's failure for me. Shouldn't bother me. I should be fine with it because I have done my best. Doesn't mean I won't learn from it. I am learning every time. I mean, I after my calls, after my lessons, I do talk to Billu. I talk to some of you. I say what worked, what didn't work, what can I do differently. Should I teach this more? Am I going too deep? Is it becoming too too difficult? As a teacher, I have to do all those things if I love my job. I will do all that. I will try my level best. Not that I shouldn't, but having tried my level best, then and knowing that I've tried my level best, now the results are not in my hands. And then understanding that and being stable all the way, samatvam, right, is called yoga. That's why it's called yoga. Yoga means what? Control over your mind, control over your ups and downs of life, ups and downs of mind. That's why it's yoga. So he's saying that this evenness of mind is called yoga. And it happens when you remove your attention from the results and put your attention on the work.
Sure.
Put your attention on the excellence of the work, or put your love, work is worship, not results is worship. Work is worship, right? That's what happens. That's why it's. And then continuing on, he just says, actions based on desire is therefore far inferior to those performed with the proper attitude of Karma Yoga. This you should know now, right? Nothing new. Seek refuge in this Buddhi Yoga. He calls it Buddhi Yoga because it's about knowledge, not just about attitude. Buddhi Yoga of proper attitude, Dhananjaya. Those who perform actions only for the results are misers. This is very interesting. He calls the samsari a miser. Why he calls them a miser is a person who doesn't use his resources properly. पैसे हैं, पैसे जमा करके बैठा हुआ है under his mattress. Use nahi kar raha, right? He's saying God has given you this buddhi to understand life, to understand yourself. And what are you doing? You're squandering it on stuff like, I want a new car. You're squandering it. You're squandering your buddhi on things that ultimately don't matter. Whereas what you should be doing is utilizing your resources of your buddhi on things that really matter to you, to your happiness. So a miser doesn't do that. A miser will just save his buddhi. I don't want to spend it. So don't be a miser. It's called a kripanaha. So he calls him kripanaha phalahetavaha. Phalahetavaha means a person who just wants the results, who thinks results is the answer. And that person is a kripanaha. Kripanaha means a miser. Okay?
But Nitya, this desire doesn't include the desire for self-knowledge.
No. Desire for self-knowledge is not a material desire. So he completely differentiates between the two. The desire, you will never see another thing that Swami Dayananda emphasized. I forgot to tell you. Good to know. He says you will never do anything without a desire for results.
Right.
You'll never take any action if you say कि मैंने ये काम करना है बिना किसी result के. I'm not thinking of any result I'm doing. That will never happen. That's not human. He says the difference is what is your intended result. If your result is acquiring more, then you're a miser. If your result that you're looking for is evenness of your own mind, is an understanding of your own mind, understanding of yourself, and an understanding of what of your own objectivity, then you're to that extent, or even your intention is happiness. If you wanted to do it for your own happiness, then those results are not you're not a miser. You're then applying your brain in the right way. That's Karma Yoga. So every time you act, there will always be an objective behind the action. No action is done without objective. But what is that objective? You can do the action to get a car, or you can do the action to get Antakarna Shuddhi. But you have to do action and you have to have an objective. So Eka Buddhi, don't forget the Eka Buddhi, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. Correct? That means there's an objective. So I want to quickly take you through these because then because that will complete Karma Yoga. Then he says, the one who is endowed with the sameness of mind, the samatvam, gives up both punya and papa here in this world. Therefore, commit yourself to karma yoga. Karma yoga is discretion in action. So he gives you another term here. He calls it kaushalam. So Gita defines karma yoga in the end in two things: samatvam and kaushalam. Kaushalam means skill. Okay? Skill in choosing the action and doing the action. And this is often, people misunderstand this because people think that kaushalam means skill in how well you do an action. That's not all that kaushalam is. Kaushalam isn't choosing an action. So for example, Swamiji gives an example. He says that suppose there's a thief and the thief wants to, he wants to break into a vault, which has a lot of money in it. And that vault is a very, difficult thing to break into. He says, I'm a karma yogi. I'm Eka Buddhi. I want to get that money in the vault. I'm Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. I've thought through everything, planned everything out. And I have samatvam. I will do my level best. I will learn to be the best possible thief. But if I get the money, I'll be great, fine. If I don't get the money, I'm okay too. If I get jailed in the process, I get behind bars, that's also okay. I'm samatvam. I know I'm not the author of my results. The results are given by God. The result could be a lot of riches or it could be jail time, right? I'm fine with either. So I'm a karma yogi. And so Swami Dayanand said, no, that doesn't make you a karma yogi. Karma yogi requires also another thing called kaushalam. Kaushalam means what is it that you're doing? It's not just how you're doing, but what are you doing? Right?
Choosing your action.
Choosing your action. So because you have adhikar over choosing your action. So how do you choose your action? So here, you choose your action. It's not, there's no book which will tell you what is the right thing to do. There isn't any actually. There may be, people will try to tell you, ye tumhara dharma hai, ye nahi hai, ye wo hai, but actually nobody can. Only you know. If you have an objective mind and you are overcoming desires, you will sharpen your ability to know what is right and what is wrong. If you don't, you will be confused about what is right and what is wrong. तुमको हमेशा इसी में लगे रहोगे, ये करूं वो करूं, ये करूं वो करूं, बिकॉज तुम्हारे मन में इतनी सारी डिजायर्स हैं, इतना कुछ है कि तुम यू आर लॉस्ट. As you become more eka buddhi, you become sharper in your understanding of what's right for you, what's the right thing to do. Do the right thing. If you truly think that chori is the right thing, and do it. It's not, nobody going to stop you. But if you don't think it's the right thing, don't do it. And here another concept is swadharma. What is it that you want to do? What is it that is your dharma? Your dharma could be taking care of your parents. It could be taking care of your children. It could be like my dharma is, say I'm a philosopher. And that is what I like to do. That's what if I do, I can love it and I can fall in love with the process, with the job rather than the results. Somebody else's dharma might be to be an entrepreneur. Whatever it is. Another's dharma could be to be a cook. So choosing what to do within the limits of dharma and your own dharma is what's called kaushalam. So now we have covered everything that Gita has to say about the initial portion of Karma Yoga. Anybody wants to recap for me? Or I can give you a quick recap. So what did we say? Karma Yoga. First, Eka Buddhi, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. Then the three things.
Action.
Yes, you are the author of your action. Focus on the action. Understand that the results are not totally in your control. Do not be attached to inaction, right? You have to make sure you're working. It's Karma Yoga after all. Samatvam, which is another part of being evenness of results. If you're focused on the result, the action on the action, the results will affect you less, whether you're up or down. And Kaushalam, knowing what is the right thing to do, doing the right thing.
Choosing the right action.
Yes. And two other things you have to remember is Ishwar Arpan Buddhi. Do your work as if you're Arpan, you're giving that work to God. And Ishwar Prasad Buddhi. The results are a prasad from Ishwar. Take them as a prasad. You don't make judgments on the prasad. ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये मीठा नहीं है, ये कड़ा जो है अच्छा नहीं बना आज. You'll eat it, whatever कड़ा you get, because it's come from God. When you have that attitude towards results, you will absorb them, whatever they are. It'll help you in your samatvam. Okay, so that's Karma Yoga of chapter 2. Now chapter 3 is titled Karma Yoga, so it goes deeper. But I think this is good. For now, this is good.
What were the two things? Eka Buddhi and Vyavasai Atma Buddhi?
Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. Yeah.
Atmika.
It's all there, Didi. Please, guys, go through what I sent you. The PowerPoint. Kabhi once in a while, jab mood mein hoge, fursat mein, just go through it. You'll remember now. These will make more sense because we've gone through these verses, so you'll remember them. There are some which we didn't go through, which we left out because we moved from Gyan Yoga to Karma Yoga, rather, before finishing Gyan Yoga part, because it was getting too much. But we'll go back and cover those.
But बाकी 3 रह गए points of the end of the chapter. This 2.51 to just read these also.
51, 52.
Is the same that ends the thing then?
Yeah, he says, no, well, it doesn't end the chapter, it ends this section on Karma Yoga.
So
So,
just
आगे भी है chapter में. So it says, the wise endowed with the attitude of Karma Yoga, having given up the results of action, free from the bondage of birth, indeed accomplish the end from which free from all affliction. So all this, right? He's just repeating it. When your
intellect
crosses over the impurity of delusion, Maya, then you shall gain a dispassion towards what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. He's just trying to say that. And then the last one is when your mind is no longer distracted by the Vedas, which present various means and ends to be gained, it will remain steady, firmly established in itself. Then you will gain self-knowledge. So he's just kind of wrapping it up.
But this doesn't make sense, Nitu, this last part, 253, when your mind is no longer distracted by Vedas. Vedas is what we are learning, right?
No.
He means the rituals and all the things.
Yeah, he means the rituals. The Vedavad Rataha. We are not learning the Vedas. We are learning the Gita. We are learning the Upanishads, which is part of the Vedas, but very small part. Vedas is a huge volumes, which is talking about the different rituals that you have to do to gain different things in life. Okay. Okay, so it's taken a little longer today, but I thought we can just finish it. So what happens next in terms of the thing is, now Arjun asks the question, and we will do this next time. Arjun asks the question, tell me, what does a Jnani look like? Who's a Jnani? How do I know whether they're Jnani or not? So he says, how does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? Those kinds of things. And then Bhagwan Krishna answers that. And after that, we'll conclude chapter 2. We have still not covered 25 onwards. You remember verse number 25, where we said unmanifest, will bagara bagara, and we said, okay, 25 to 39 we didn't cover. We skipped over because we said it was getting too much. Let's get to Karma Yoga. So that's where we are. Let me just stop sharing. Okay. You went through a lot today. Please go through the video again. Please read through what has been said. There's no rush, but do it at your own speed.
You have 15 days.
Otherwise, you will forget. So just read it. And then slowly, once the main thing kind of gets into you, the essence of it, then it will remain with you. It's not going anywhere.
This is so core. This is so core on how to live I think for me, I'm just saying, it is so core to, and it's worth kind of unwrapping really deeply, delving into deeply.
I agree. Taking time
Questions,
for this is
the
okay.
questions you had, Tony Bia, those kind of questions, I think are so important because they just dictate how you live your life every day, whether you think of that short-term thing or you think of the long-term thing, you know, what you choose to do or not. And also just the misunderstanding of what it means to
Yeah,
not
right.
be attached. Like I had that misunderstanding, oh, don't be attached to the results. That's not true.
Yeah. What it really means, which I got it today, is that don't worry about the pluses and minuses from a happiness perspective. It's going to be what it's going to be. Do your action, do like offering to God in the right way, in the right format, and then don't get unhappy if the result isn't what you expect it to be. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. That really helps in that thing for me.
Good.
Chalo. Lot to read and lot to think about it
Not to
over
learn
the
about
next
yourself.
15 days.
Not to learn about yourself.
I'm going to
Very good, Nitu.